could SAMRO, maybe first of all, maybe start from exactly for the interest of someone that doesn't know what SAMRO does.
Sure.
Perhaps maybe just speak a little bit about what SAMRO does, and then come into how do we take part in the bigger picture, in that ecosystem as the chorale fraternity.
Sure. For you to even say, I want to earn royalties, you need to be part of all these four CMOs. Mm-hmm. So if you're writing music, or you're a composer of music, you must be a member of SAMRO, and also a member of Capasso, right? If you are a performer of music, so meaning you sing music, on a recording, you need to be a member of SAMPRA. Mm-hmm. And if you're doing music videos, or you have a music video that could be anywhere, right? YouTube anywhere, you need to also be a member of RISA. Mm-hmm. So these are the first four. What we are saying is that we're not saying, oh, you'll never make money participating in a choir, but we are saying, maybe you might want to start thinking about writing music. Yeah. There's value in that, in you creating something.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce to you and officially launch this beautiful baby of mine called the Choral Music Indaba. The Choral Music Indaba is really just a network of discussions and platforms that I will be bringing to the chorale music fraternity to make sure that we are a part of the bigger picture. And the bigger picture I'm talking about is the South African music industry, because we are a part of it. We are those players. We should be able to monetize just as much as I'm a piano artist can monetize. And this right here is the beginning of something great. It is the beginning of making the chorale music fraternity the big deal that it is. And today I'm bringing you something really special for the chorale fraternity. Like I said in my intro, we are really trying to just unlock the fraternity, and I've got a very special gentleman sitting right next to me, and we're going to have a very interesting conversation about how to monetize the chorale fraternity, how to actually unlock some of those opportunities, and most of all, just to have us be a bigger part of the music ecosystem in South Africa, because we are major players and we should be part of it. So I'm not going to introduce you. I'd like you to do the honors of introducing yourself. I think you would do it better. Yeah. So over to you.
Thank you. Thanks for saying a special gentleman. So already it's like, okay.
Because you are.
Yeah, you feel like, those in the movies where they say special agent so and so. Anyway, so my name is Karabo Sinna. I am essentially here to talk to you about SAMRO, because on my Monday to Friday sort of focus, I'm the general manager for licensing at SAMRO. Mm-hmm. And obviously the main focus there is to make sure that I ensure that musicians are able to actually monetize their creations, which is, musical creations, and more so that they are paid royalties that are linked to that. Yeah. So that's purely what I do. And I'm hoping that I can share as much as possible so people learn, as to how do they actually better, their revenue streams, which is different from actually performing, but it's more like a passive income, right?
Yeah. So, Karabo, in all honesty, the chorale fraternity is in my opinion, is alive with possibilities. Yeah. It's a very busy fraternity, but we do exist in our little silos. Yes. We haven't really sort of come out of our shell.
Correct.
And but we are musicians.
Yeah.
What could SAMRO, maybe first of all, maybe start from exactly for the interest of someone that doesn't know what SAMRO does.
Sure.
Perhaps maybe just speak a little bit about what SAMRO does, and then come into how do we take part in the bigger picture, in that ecosystem as the chorale fraternity.
Sure. So firstly, SAMRO is the Southern African Music Rights Organization, right? Mm-hmm. So SAMRO is what we call a CMO,
yes.
Collection Management Organization. Mm-hmm. There are several of these in South Africa, but mainly there are four. Mm-hmm. So SAMRO is the first one, which is essentially the biggest one, just not in South Africa, but in Africa. Mm-hmm. And it focuses on what we call performing rights. Mm-hmm. So in music, so every time people say copyright, actually there are different types of copyright sitting under that one big term that we call copyright. So SAMRO focuses on the performing right. Simplistically, what a performing right is anytime your music is used in public. But remember, when I say your music, meaning music that you created, right? Which we'll get into.
Yeah.
So your music is used in public. Then we have what we call Capasso. Capasso then focuses still on the creators of the music, but a different right within copyright, which we call mechanical right. So mechanical right is anytime your music is reproduced. So meaning, for some of us, we remember there was a time when you clicked on the internet or somewhere and this thing would buffer. Right? So that is actually still happening right now.
Yeah.
But the difference is that it's so quick, you don't even see it. So that reproduction, that copying, that is actually what we are licensing at Capasso. Yeah, so the next one is SAMRO. So SAMRO is essentially for needle time and neighboring right. So needle time and neighboring right is anytime your music is used, but it's more focused on the performer. So it's similar to performing right, but for the performers of the music. So the simplest way to explain this is that I could write a song, but guess what? I might not be the right person to perform it.
Yeah.
And I give it to Thuso, and Thuso will earn from SAMRO while I will earn from SAMRO and Capasso, right?
Correct.
But Thuso will earn from SAMRO because Thuso took the song and interpreted the song and then performed it, obviously, right?
Correct.
On a recording. And then the last one is RISA. But people always talk about RISA, the sort of the body that is a federation. The one that I'm focused on now is RISA Audio Visual, RAV. So that is anytime you have a music video that's on TV.
Yeah.
So what I'm essentially saying before I get into how do you even monetize the space, and you guys are part of the space, is that for you to even say, I want to earn royalties, you need to be part of all these four CMOs. So if your music, you are writing music or you're a composer of music, you must be a member of SAMRO and also a member of Capasso, right? If you are a performer of music, so meaning you sing music, on a recording, you need to be a member of SAMRO. And if you're doing music videos or you have a music video that could be anywhere, right? YouTube anyway, you need to also be a member of RISA. So these are the first four, right? Before we move forward. But going into the part that you asked in terms of, listen, choral music is a niche. Let's start there.
Yes, correct.
Now, in my mind, this is the business side of me, right? There's only two ways of making money with a niche. The first one is that you are able to charge a lot for it.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's what they do.
Correct.
Look at fashion. Fashion, anytime something is a niche, they just charge you more for it, right?
Yeah.
Or the last part, which may hurt, is that you actually make it more popular. Like it doesn't become a niche. You make it something that is mainstream.
Correct. Yeah.
Right? Besides that, it becomes very challenging. And this is besides us looking at it from a music side, because remember, everything is firstly from a commercial perspective first. To say, okay, how do you start and make money? You start firstly with the perspective of how do I commercialize this thing?
Yes.
And a niche, you must charge more. So let me just start off there. So with choral music, it is a niche product currently in South Africa, unlike obviously what you might find maybe in Europe. So in South Africa, for you to ensure that choral music survives and people can monetize it, it's either, there's two strategies that you have to look at whenever you try to monetize a niche product. It's either you are able to charge more for it, but obviously people must be willing to pay for that.
Correct.
Right? If you can't do that, then you need to make it much more popular. So meaning, a lot more people are aware of it, a lot more people appreciate it, a lot more people are willing to actually go and watch it either on YouTube, listen to the music on Spotify, or even attend performances.
Yes.
So those are the sort of things that we need to look at. But obviously from a royalty space, the biggest thing with royalties that you have to remember, and this is the number one rule, royalties only come through usage. So what do I mean by that? I mean that you cannot, as a creator, expect to earn royalties, but you have not worked out where is this thing being used. So the more something is used, we can talk about where I think it can be used, but the more something is used, that's where you earn royalties.
Yeah. So some of those pillars that you're speaking of, in my mind immediately, I'm thinking, in the chorale space, we have composers.
Sure.
People who compose music, they write songs, and those songs are then given to choirs to perform at choral music competitions, productions, theaters, and the likes. So in that case, and obviously the performers being the choirs. So either I am a choir, we take this piece of music, we perform it at a choral competition, at a, wherever it could be, or, we sort of kind of, like you were saying, how we take a song that's written by somebody else and performing it. So in that instance, how do we then differentiate that monetization for choirs and for a composer?
Yes.
How do we do that?
So let's start off with the composer, right? Because the reason why we always start with the composer is that they are the people that create the overall arrangement, right? So now, whenever I say composer, I always like to define it because a lot of times people get confused.
Yeah.
Where, especially in a choral music space, I mean, there's a lot of people there, right?
Yeah.
And it's always sometimes challenging to say, who really is the composer? So you need to start there. Now, the composer is not always the person that just created the music.
Yeah, yeah.
So when we look at composition, we look at firstly melody. So I could be the person that really, came up with the song. So I hummed it to you. I come to you and say, I'm thinking of this song, man. This is how it sounds. And I hum it. Right? This is me giving you this melody.
Yeah.
From that perspective, you then come in and say, okay, fine, hang on. Let's suppose you play piano and you say, you play certain keys. I'm like, no, make it a little bit slower. No, maybe make it this. Now, here's the question. Who composed the song? So on a legal perspective, right? Because this is not a maybe scenario. This is a legal question. On a legal perspective, the person that actually created the song is the two of us. I created that melody, so I'm part of the composition. So I created that particular composition. But the only time you participate, it's not the fact that you played the piano. It's when you are also adding on your unique interpretation. So assume you said, okay, but I think let me add this, and let me add it. Let me add some strings. As you are doing that, you are also one of the composers. So the first thing that people need to understand is that in a choral setup, the people that participate in fine-tuning that song, technically they are composers as well.
Yeah.
Because I don't think there's ever a song that somebody writes and then it goes in front of people.
Yeah.
And then nobody changes anything. It's just, that's it.
Yeah.
It's always difficult to find those moments. So anybody that pitches in and says, okay, we're changing this, we're changing this, we're changing. And I'm not just talking about the arrangement. I'm talking about the actual creation of this thing. Like, it sounds different. Like, the moment you listen to whatever this person came up with, and then you listen to the end product, you're like, yeah, but it sounds different.
It's been on a journey.
Has changed.
Yeah.
It's not the same thing. Though all those people are actually creators, we would call them legally composers of the work. So it could have started with you and I, but we take it to 5 more people. And then those 5 people add something else. And then we decide, okay, actually we like this arrangement. We change a few things, and then that's the song. Once that is, the composers of the song are all those 7 people. It started here. So we need to then, we always recommend that people sign what we call a split sheet. A split sheet then regulates this, because tomorrow when this thing is a hit, trust me, you and I both know what happens sometimes. Sometimes but I'm the composer. You guys didn't do anything. The authors of the work, it's much more simplistic. It's anybody that wrote the lyrics, right? So I could have written certain lyrics, and then maybe my verse, you change it a bit, or the second verse, you add something. You should also be regarded as an author. So for SAMRO or for royalties, that's where everything starts. It starts with who created the song. And then we can always talk about how do we monetize it, but the creation, that's the most important thing. But I think the biggest part, I mean, till this day, I don't think I've ever seen a choir, personally, where, or any choral space where people have signed a split sheet.
No.
I've never seen it, right?
No.
And let me explain quickly what a split sheet is. You don't have to, it's on the SAMRO website, but even if you don't go there, all you have to do, you take a page, simple page, and then you say, this obviously you write at the top split sheet for song, give it the name, whatever the name is. And then you say the parties below are the creators of this song.
Yeah.
That's it. You see, as simple as
that's
that.
A split sheet.
Then that's a split sheet. Then we write the name there. Okay, there's a full name, Thuso, there's Karabo, there's whoever. If you can, put in ID numbers. If you can, you don't have to. Put in ID numbers, and then guess what? The most important thing next to it is the percentage.
That percentage.
Yeah.
Who takes what?
It must all be 100% when we are done with it.
Yeah.
So say, okay, fine. You contributed a lot. Okay, let's give you 40%. Me, it was just 10%.
Yeah.
You 5, you 10, but it makes up 100%, and then we all sign next to it. That's it.
Yeah.
And then nowadays we've got phones. We just take a picture, we send it to everyone.
Yeah.
And then we decide whoever's going to notify it at SAMRO, at Kapaso, wherever. But the base is that it starts there, because you never know when you have a hit.
Yes.
So it starts there.
Yeah.
Once you've done that part, then you and I then can talk about, okay, how do we monetize this thing? But I think we need to start being professional with this, and intentional with this profession, and start creating this. It should be a norm. It shouldn't be a taboo thing. Once we are done working on a song, then it's like, guys, let's do a split sheet. And it's like, hey, what is this now? Yeah.
So one other thing that really becomes tricky around, kind of professionalizing the chorale space, in terms of, becoming members of SAMRO, split sheets and all of that, is the fact that, so in our space, there's two things, right? There's choirs who would then, or maybe let me say platforms like competitions or productions, where some of the music that is prescribed for the competition is actually composed by a Bach or a Rossini, or you know what I mean. And then you have a situation where you have music that is composed by a South African composer, Mohau Mokhali, who is actually alive and well, and could actually kind of benefit from professionalizing or monetizing. Is there opportunity for choirs who perform music by composers who died long time ago, who were international, to monetize? Or should we start looking at possibly prescribing more South African composers for them to have the opportunity to monetize their work? Well, for both to have the opportunity, obviously, him as a composer and the choir who's performing the music that he composed.
Okay, so let's start off with those works where we are saying, so there's a term that I want to introduce. It's called public domain works.
Okay.
Right? So what it means legally is that anytime, so in South Africa, copyright is protected for the life of the creator plus 50 years, right? Posthumously. So simply meaning anytime you are performing music, and let's assume is a work that is more than 150 years old, right? Easily. You know that this is public domain. So we'll normally call it DP, right? And it's the other way around because it's in French, the original term of it. So public domain works can be performed by anybody. You don't need permission. You don't need, and this is performance, and this is also recording. So meaning you can take that song, rearrange it, do whatever you want to do with it technically, and still earn from it. So what do I mean by that? I mean, a choir can take any song as long as it's a DP work. Once they take that song, let's imagine you rearrange the song because you might not perform it exactly the way it is. And even if you record it, you can then register that song as your own song
that you've rearranged.
At SAMRO, Kapaso, Sempra, everywhere. You can register that and you will earn from that. Different societies have different rules. At SAMRO, I can tell you that a rearranged DP work, you will earn 50% of the royalties that come from there. The other 50 goes into what we call social and cultural. So meaning, because it's recognized that it's not totally your song, therefore a portion of it will go into benefiting artists. All these programs that SAMRO does, it funds that. but you, the creators, will earn 50%. So it means you can actually generate a revenue stream from something that already exists.
Yeah.
Right? But
Yeah.
obviously the key here is that it must be a public domain song. So it can't just be a song that is protected by copyright still. Then let's come to a point where the author is still alive, right? So it's protected by copyright. Or it could be the author has passed on, but it's still within the 50 years,
Yes.
right? It's still protected by copyright. So as long as the song is protected by copyright, for the most part, anytime you want to record it, especially, let's say you want to do an arrangement, because the only time you can monetize it for you, anytime you perform it and it's not your own arrangement, it will only benefit the original creator, right? And if he's not alive, it will benefit his heirs, because SAMRO will pay the heirs 50 years posthumously. So, however, if the creator is still alive and you want to do a re-recording, because you can still benefit from that. And people are often shocked how many times original composers are actually willing for you to do an arrangement, because they understand you're keeping the song alive.
Correct.
Right? And that goes a long way. And then next, and you may not think about it, but they created this song for a different generation, right? Think about it. I mean, a song that was created for people that were young in the 70s may need some works, somebody to work on it for it to sound good for kids now.
For now, yes.
So somebody, they appreciate that. Like, okay, fine. And then guess what? Lastly, it will give them royalties. Because in those royalties, when you ask for permission, which is the first important thing, whenever you work on anything, you want to do an arrangement for any song that is protected by copyright, you need to gain permission. A lot of people are fearful and they think, I will not get it or whatever. But if you think about the first two things that I said, that no, you are actually giving the song life. And guess what? They understand that you're creating it for a different generation, not their own generation. So with that, they are more than willing to say, no, go ahead. As long as obviously you understand, maybe I will keep so much of the royalties, right? 50% or whatever you have negotiated. But you are still able to generate revenue from that. And I could even argue that it's always easier to get a song that people sort of know, to get it out there. It's easier than a song that is original. Nobody has ever heard before. So those are the different ways you can earn. But you will notice that because you are working off somebody else's work, you will never get the 50%. I mean, the 100%. There's always an element where you are foregoing something, but you will still earn from it.
Okay, and so, and you were still to answer the question around, composers who are alive and are actually still writing music and all of that. I want us to actually talk about next steps for the chorale fraternity, because fact of the matter, I mean, we could go on SAMRO's records now. A lot of us are not SAMRO members, not the
100%.
choirs, not the composers, not even the independent opera singers, that
100%.
type of thing. So what would be next steps for someone who's watching this and says, listen, I want to actually professionalize myself a little bit. I want to start monetizing myself. What would be the next steps as me as a choir, me as a composer, and me as like an independent opera singer?
So the first part is, remember when I was explaining what different CMOs stand for? SAMRO and Capasso is for composers, and then SAMPRA and RISA are for performers. The first part is you need to understand what you do. Where you fall. Some people are composers and they're also performers, right? Not everybody is a performer. Just as well as not everybody is a writer. Not everybody can create a song. And remember, like I said, creation of a song doesn't mean playing an instrument. It doesn't mean being a sound engineer or producer. No. Me just humming a melody to you. I have participated in creation of a song. So I don't want people to count themselves out quickly. Say, oh no, I'm not a creator. It's like, no. You could be, right? You could think up of something. So firstly, understand where you stand, right? Then, because you understand where you stand, imagine you are both. You are a creator and you're a performer. Then the best way to go for you to professionalize yourself is to then start registering with these organizations. And remember, Thuso, registering with these organizations is not just about earning royalties. It's about empowerment. There's a lot of information being shared. There's a lot of opportunities being created. You may be in the dark And because you are not part of the ecosystem, you are not getting this information. Correct. So it starts there for me to say you then start participating in the ecosystem. Then thereafter, you start, looking for opportunities for your music. So the first thing is register with all four. Make sure you're a member with all four.
Yeah.
Once you've done that, then start, sort of empowering yourself with information. All these organizations have got information on YouTube, on Facebook.
Yeah.
Start following them, all of them. As they release material, interact with the material, right? Learn as much as you can. Next thing, start then being active. And when I say active, the biggest challenge with a lot of people, being active goes with failure. Nobody wants to fail.
Correct.
I see it all the time. Whenever I speak to creatives, I'm like, okay, fine. What have you tried? Everybody wants to go for the same thing. So what do I mean by that? I mean, a specific choral group will decide, okay, fine, we've recorded music, we've put it on YouTube. And I'm like, okay, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Not in a bad way, but what does it mean? Think about it. And it's like, no. Maybe people will, listen to it and will make royalties. Like, no, that's very passive. And unfortunately, you need to be much more decisive than that. So anytime I speak to people, and what I want to share is what people have done that seems to work that other people don't do. So you will find things where people, I always speak about, production music and commercial music. That, especially in the choir space, you'll be shocked. A lot of times people are just focused on the commercial side of things. And commercial, I mean, I want my music to play on radio, I want my music to play on TV, and I want my people to stream my music. That's all good and well. But then there's another space where you're saying, okay, how do we find opportunities for our music in productions? And you may think, yes, choral music might not be suited for certain things, but who says?
Yeah.
Yeah. Nobody has tried it.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, I sometimes watch a certain movie or certain scene, and then you hear certain, like maybe, those church scenes in movies.
Yes.
And there's no.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, that could work.
Actually.
That could work. I mean, somebody could have pushed in a sync where there's a choral thing there, and it could be South African.
Yes.
Nothing says it has to be a very European sound.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, fine. There's a funeral. Okay, that could work. I mean, this is me now, being a commercial person.
Yeah.
I'm watching TV. I'm like, oh, okay, there's a funeral. Okay, choral music fits in there. People are going to church. There's choral music fits in there. And then sometimes there may be a very joyous, expressive moment where, because there's these huge bouts sometimes when choral music happens, where it just expresses a certain emotion. And that could fit in there. Now, the trick is, you need to position, you need to find opportunities for this music. It can't just be, music that is simply performed where, not in a bad way, where concerts where mostly it's family that's attending. It can't be that. You need to find opportunities for it. And I think the biggest opportunity, choral music it's harder to appreciate, and maybe this is my sentiment, other people might have it. It's harder to appreciate it for radio.
Yes.
Somehow, right? It's certain music, it's easy for radio. Certain music is much more difficult.
We literally only have 2 radio shows.
That play
choral.
What I mean? And I mean, how long are those radio
it's
shows?
like a 2-hour on a Sunday night or something. Correct.
So it's harder. But I'm telling you, for TV, it's much better because people see people. There's a sense of theater, right? Because it's choral.
Correct.
You see people, the way they sing and whatever. So for me, that makes sense. And there's a level where it can be part of production music. So meaning a lot of scenes on TV could actually use choral music. And sometimes it might not even be the words, like the music with the words. It may be
just the harmony.
The harmony, right? No, but that... but it's enough for somebody to feel something.
Yes.
And I think for me, that should be the future of choral music. If somebody to say to me, okay, fine, what do we do with this? There's a massive genre. It is undervalued, not as appreciated as other genres out there. How do we position this thing the best way possible? My move would be, listen, I'm not saying radio will never appreciate you,
Yeah.
but it's the type of music. So meaning try and focus more on sort of TV productions, fitting it in there. Try and focus more on how do you, even from an advertising perspective, it doesn't mean there are products that could not go well with this. You know? There should be certain products that go well with this.
Correct.
Find those products.
Like Fatis and Moni Spaghetti. They use the opera
Thank
singer.
you. So for me, it's like, and it's not, let's not make it, because choral, I'm sure it's not just about church type music.
No, absolutely
right?
not. Yeah,
it's not.
Yeah.
And I think it remains for those people to demystify that. Because for an ordinary consumer, whenever you say choral music or choir type music,
I think
church.
Correct.
Right? In my mind, I'm like church.
Yes.
Church/gospel. That's where I go. And I think if somebody's seeking an opportunity and sitting there and saying, where do I go? That is the first thing.
Yeah.
Try and change the space. So that change the narrative. People don't see it as gospel. People don't see it as Sunday type music.
Yes.
And maybe you might have something. And explore the same vocals, the same whatever, but something
Explore
else.
in different avenues. Yeah. All right, cool. I think we're good. I think we've got some of those bombs that we want to drop, and I think it's really going to be a journey for the space. It's going to really be a journey. But I think I appreciate the fact that you're willing to share the wisdom and to just kind of give us some of those pointers, where to look, how to go about it, where to start, and all of that. So tell us about just the process of registering with SAMRO. Is that on a website? Do people have to walk in? How do we do it?
So SAMRO registration, very straightforward. It's simply going onto our website, www.samro.org.za, and you will follow. We've got two streams essentially you will see when you go on our website. We've got the creator stream, and then we've got the user stream, obviously the people that we license. But the creator stream is more for you, and then you follow that stream at the top, and then you will see a massive, online registration. We only do online registration. There's no need to go to our offices or anything of that sort. And then from there on, you fill in all the documents. The key things that you need to have in mind is have electronic version of your ID, because obviously we need to know that you're a real person. That's number one, right? Obviously, you're going to populate some information on a form. And then the other thing that you need to have is at least you should have written one song. And what do we need from that? Something very simple. We just need the title of that song. That's it. Title and who wrote it. So imagine it's me alone. Then I'm going to say, okay, 100%, I own it. And then that's purely it. And then there's a document that you have to sign, which is a deed of assignment, allowing us to obviously administer your works. And the last component is a once-off fee of 100 rand. So that's once-off. It's not a yearly fee. Other organizations may have yearly fees, but we just have a once-off. And that's purely it. Once you've done that, then you need to just go and monetize your music as best as you can, so we can collect those royalties for you.
And how does a choir of 60 people go about that? Would we have to register our choir as as like a business, perhaps, maybe a company, and register it with SAMRO as a company to kind of,
So the simplest way is that my imagination says, I don't think all the 60 people may be creators of songs, right? So let's assume that not all 60 people are. It would mean that the ones that are creators, the ones that typically write the music, because you might have people that compose, some people write the lyrics, right? Let's say 10 of them are doing that. You would need to register you as an individual. Register that, right?
That I actually put in this part.
Because music is not like anything other entities. Music, we require to know the ownership.
Yes.
In law, music is an asset. It's a piece of IP. So, we need to know who created this. It's like a patent, technically. It's like when you file a patent, they want to know who created this thing. Don't tell us it's this entity. No, you created it. So, we want you to register. So those people register individually, right? All of them.
Okay.
However, the ones that let's say, perform the music now,
Yeah.
right? The other bunch, let's say the 50, the other
Yes.
50, they would need to register with SAMRO. But it's important where registration is only important if you guys are recording music.
Yes,
right? So
yes.
if you are not recording the music, the performers don't have to register.
Okay.
Yeah, it's only the creators that have to register with
Okay.
SAMRO. But if you record that music, yes, those others have to go and register with SAMRO. That's obviously what I would recommend. Now, the company part comes in here. If you guys are like, okay, hang on, there is value in us collaborating in a form of an entity. This is how it would work. You would have to create an entity, and that would become what we call your publisher.
Okay.
Right? So as to how many people own this entity, it's up to you. But how this entity would interact with the different CMOs, this is how we would do it. It would mean that typically this publisher would manage. So this entity would manage these people.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
These creators and these performers.
Yeah.
So each one of you will have to sign an agreement with this entity. So now
Okay.
we'll give it a name. Thuso Incorporated. So we create Thuso Incorporated, or maybe it's a choir name. Let's say
Yes.
choir, it's Rise,
Yes.
Rise Incorporated.
Yeah.
So the name of the company is Rise Incorporated. This particular company, everybody has to sign an agreement. It's almost like what people say, oh, I signed a deal with, you are signing a deal with your own company because it's the only way your company can represent you.
Yeah.
It can't represent you just on the basis of it's a company.
Yes, yes.
So once it has done that, then every single person that goes to SAMRO and says, oh, I'm Thuso, I'm registering as a member, they can then upload this agreement to say, I am published by Rise Incorporated,
Yeah.
right? So if you say that, what happens is then you create this relationship on the system. But it means that anytime you earn something, the agreement must say, how much does Rise Incorporated earn? So you could say every time you earn 80%, Rise Incorporated gets 20%.
Yeah.
That's fine. Or
Yeah.
it could be 90-10. It's up to you guys. The only rule that SAMRO has is that the entity can never earn more than 50%. So meaning the highest split would be 50-50.
Yeah.
Right? The creator and the entity for each song. So at the end of the day, it means that if on a song we have 4 people and they are from the same company, what will happen is that this, obviously, each would have received 25, 25, 25, 25.
Yeah.
But because they're splitting, let's say 50-50 with that company, this 25 will be split 2 ways, this 25 will be split 2 ways, this 25 will be split 2 ways, this 25 will be split 2 ways.
Yeah.
But that's just for the creators. And then when they go to, the performers can go to SAMRO and then register as performers at SAMRO. So for every single song that is played on TV, on radio, on YouTube, on Facebook, and by the way, all these avenues that I'm referring to are all licensed.
Yes.
So meaning if your song, if you guys can even figure out a way to make your song popular on YouTube.
Yeah, TikTok.
On
whatever.
TikTok.
Yeah.
You'll be paid for it.
Yeah.
Royalties,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So that's all that you have to do. You have to figure out, music has becoming a marketing game, technically.
Correct.
Music, before, I think, yes, there's an element of creativity, but there's an element of, okay, how do I market this thing that it's used as often as possible. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that people don't mind listening to it. And I always say to people, guys, try and create songs that people can just listen to these things on repeat and not even get tired.
Yeah.
Right? And sometimes it's not even music that people listen to, but it's music that is very good for background. And I know sometimes musicians feel sad.
Yeah.
Like, oh, what do you mean?
Why? The
my music. I'm like, my man, do you know how much money you can make?
Yeah.
If I'm, anytime I've got guests or whatever, it's easy for me just to stream your album there in the background. It's not offensive.
Yeah.
It's not overpowering. But guess what? It just sets a nice ambience.
Yeah.
This thing just works.
Yeah.
And I know it's a different topic which we'll discuss some other day, but there is a new concept of what we call mood music.
Yes.
Where
Correct.
there is so much music. I mean, the last numbers I saw, that there is 150,000 tracks being released every single day, right? On these DSPs. So people, there's saturation. we sort of don't know what to listen to. So we end up listening to music based on mood. Now, with this Siri thing, hey, smart speakers, right?
Yes.
Everything is going to become, hey Siri, right?
Yeah.
People will not say to Siri, hey Siri, play a song by so-and-so. They'll say, Siri, I feel sad. Play some. No, seriously. Even with AI,
Correct.
that's where we are going.
Correct.
People are gonna say, Siri, I feel sad. Can you liven the mood?
Yeah.
That's already what's happening in cars nowadays, where somebody tells the car the mood.
Yeah.
But because the car is an AI, then immediately it says, oh, okay, I'll choose music that's appropriate. So this also speaks to your metadata, right?
Correct.
When you load up this song on the DSP platforms, you need to put the right metadata so that the algorithm knows, oh, this music is more in tune with
what?
This type of sort of feeling, right? And you will see, and I know we are talking about it now, somebody sitting in South Africa might be like, nah, but no, it doesn't make sense.
It's not us.
But we say to them, guys, if you're making music for only South Africa, you've got a problem.
Yeah.
Right? I know of many people where they've never been to Germany, but their music is
booming in Germany.
Like, man, hey, there's so many streams in Germany. and it's all because of, maybe it suits a mood. They don't understand your lyrics. Doesn't matter.
Yes.
But the issue is, they can resonate with your energy.
Yeah.
Good shot. You get that right, good. And you'll make a ton of money.
Yeah.
And that's all that you need to do. So for me, I think people have to explore that. Obviously, not everybody can do that, but I'm just putting out ideas where, for the choral space, you're like, okay, from a royalty side, we need to think about this a little bit differently.
Yes.
And how do we approach this thing so that out there, because for me, choral has got so much harmony where it's an easy play for you to just play this thing in the background and just forget. Or if you are thinking, or if you are working, or, just play this thing. And this thing and that's what it needs to be sold as.
Yes.
And don't feel that, no, we want to be appreciated and be like a Beyonce.
Want to be in the forefront and stuff.
No. The issue is you want to make money.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
It's not the other things, pack them. They'll come later.
Yeah.
Let's make money first and then everything else follows.
Correct. Are you able to entice us a little bit?
Sure.
So I want you to just kind of give us some numbers, but comparatively, let's talk about a gospel choir, maybe that is possibly earning royalties from SAMRO.
Yeah.
What does that number look like in terms of what they earn?
Sure.
What they potentially earn.
Yeah, I mean, in South Africa, obviously, and I like you said, gospel choir, because normally what you would see as choirs, space of choirs that actually make sort of substantial revenue, it's predominantly gospel.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And I mean, I'll just make a simple example, not to give you that number for royalties, but if you watch just a basic show of let's say, Spirit of Praise, I mean, the theater is full.
Yes.
And you're like, yay.
Yeah.
These guys, they can fill up a theater. That's something. And I mean, it's orchestra. You know what I mean? You can see everything is well sort of displayed. But from a royalty space, what we need to understand is that commercial music in itself doesn't generate the highest royalties.
Okay.
Firstly, production music does, right? And purely because production music plays on TV in a monotonous fashion.
Yeah.
Right? It's that SABC jingle, it's that Steers advert, it's that KFC advert.
Yes.
We hear it all the time, we don't think about it, but that thing,
but it's there.
That thing makes a lot of money, right? So if you happen to be the person that wrote that music, you are very happy.
Yeah.
So just understand that whenever in SAMRO we say a creator, the top, let's say 100 creators, you will find a lot of sort of production music guys.
Okay.
And simply there we're talking somewhere in the region of about 800,000 up to about 3 million rands, right? So that's royalties being paid by SAMRO alone to a specific creator.
Sure.
So I mean, that's not small, and I mean, this is outside of everything else that they do.
Yeah,
this is just
all the added stuff.
Yeah, I'm sleeping, I'm waking up, and money just comes.
And your song is playing every day
somewhere in the world. Sometimes some of them. It's not just in South Africa. It's foreign income as well. I mean, our foreign income in SAMRO is about 40 million.
Sure.
Right, that comes in. So it must be paid to somebody.
Yes.
So those people are making that money. But obviously it's predominantly domestic. But yeah, so it's production music. Then coming directly to your question, when you look at a big choir, and it's very important that I create the distinction. It is not, whenever I say choirs normally have a main creator somehow.
Yes.
Right? There's normally those one or two people that are writing the songs. So that's where the disjuncture happens.
Yeah.
Where when somebody says, oh, yes, choirs are actually able to make, let's say, 500,000, even towards R1 million in royalties. But I'm not talking about the 30 people that you see. I'm talking about the people that sit and write the music.
Correct.
So what we are saying is that we're not saying, oh, you'll never make money participating in a choir, but we are saying maybe you might want to start thinking about writing music.
Yeah.
You know, there's value in that, you know, in you creating something. And, you know, to some degree, you might not be the only writer. You might participate in the writing process, because normally it's proven that most good songs are written by 3 to 4 people.
Correct.
You know, so because you need different ears to listen. You know, it's not always that one ear is able to write composition, lyrics, and this thing comes together. It's very seldom.
Yeah.
But 3 to 4 people, that's a good average. I mean, you go to America easily. You can find 12 people, 20 people on one song.
On one song.
Right?
Correct,
But obviously the revenue streams are bigger there. But, you know, I think it's a good thing for us to know. But the number is somewhere in the region of about 500 to 800,000. It can go up to R1 million, and that's what good choirs generally command in terms of royalties. And that's just SAMRO, right? There's other revenue streams that they will obviously get from, you know, even SAMPRA, even Capasso, RISA, and then over and above that, any sort of syncs that they might also generate, because we never talk about that.
Yes,
you know, if somebody's able to generate a sync or a collaboration with a brand, there's a revenue stream there as well. Yeah.
Sure, there's so much to unpack for us, but I really appreciate you know, all of the insight that you've given us today. I think we need to then go back and sort of organize ourselves as a chorale fraternity and see how we actually take up these opportunities and just kind of be a part of the bigger picture. I think for me, the biggest thing is for us to start seeing ourselves as part of the ecosystem and not existing in our little, you know, in our little silos. So I really appreciate that. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
And thank you for taking the time out of your your non-work day.
So,
you know?
But something else that I want to add, I think, you know, there is also an opportunity where, you know, there's always commercial songs. Let's say a house track that you hear or my piano track. You know, I've often sat back and said, why don't we see a lot of choral on the back end of that?
Yes.
It just stuns me. Like, how? Because there's certain verses you listen to or choruses, and you're like,
and you
this
can imagine
could work.
Yes.
Like, this could work. And I'm not saying, you know, somebody could even make a remix of something. You take a song that has been pumping for 6 months, and you must remember, songs nowadays, there's a 3-month window on a song. Like, I'm talking about popularity.
Yes.
So even those composers or DJs or whoever, they are also looking for avenues to say, okay, how can I extend the longevity of a song? Because it's not easy creating another hit. People think it is. It's not.
Not at all. Yeah.
So I don't care who you are. You create this hit. You're like, damn it, can I create another one? You don't know. The easiest way sometimes to sort of give a song life is to create another rendition. So that's an opportunity for choral.
Correct.
So choral, come in there. You spot a song, you guys can literally say, how can we perform this song differently?
Yes.
Right?
Okay.
Start there. How can we do it? And then somebody tries something and say, hey, this thing works. Reach out to that guy and say, hey, my man, we've to do this version. We've got something. Trust me, you'll be shocked how much royalties will be generated from that, instead of, you know, sometimes doing what we normally do. And there's certain songs, they lend themselves to that. You just sit there like, hey man, this song can work. Hey, this Msaki song, hey, you listen to it. Hey, this song can work. You know, you can just... So there's certain things that I think people need to be innovative about, and don't remember, these creatives are also people.
Yes,
You meet them, you touch them.
Yes.
They're people.
Yeah.
So don't sit there and say, it will never work.
Yeah.
No. The
Sure.
only thing that will never work is you telling yourself it will never work.
Yeah.
Give it a try.
Yeah.
Give it a try. You might find that you might work on 5 songs. There'll be that one that says, let's do it. I like the sound.
Sure.
Let's do it. And because they also want to stretch the lifetime of that song. It makes sense.
Yeah.
Especially when it's dying down a little bit.
Yes. Then you pick it up for something.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So I think that's something I just want to share, that, guys, there's an opportunity.
There's so much
there's an
opportunity. I mean, you
there.
could have an opera singer jump onto a
look at Kabza.
piano
When
song
Kabza
or
did
something.
that thing at Gold Reef,
Correct.
right?
Yes.
So I mean, all these guys, I mean, even AKA, all these guys, whenever they do concerts, they pull that thing in because they know
Correct.
they can see that from a musical standpoint, it's something fresh, but nobody has put it on a recording side. Like, yes, we do it for a concert, but not so much on a recorded music.
Yes,
So now it needs to be pulled in to say, no, let's actually bring some of that into recorded music. So then now it starts playing on radio more often, because they'll play that version, they'll play this version.
Yes, yeah.
And then people, they will appreciate this version. People start obviously streaming this version, and that's how you make revenue.
Yeah.
So start finding those opportunities and doing those renditions.
Awesome. Yeah. And there you have it, a great opportunity to start unlocking the choral music fraternity. We're going to monetize, we're going to re-engineer, and we're going to make sure that we are a sustainable genre and that we can sustain ourselves for many years to come. So do not miss a step. Make sure that you keep up with everything that the Choral Music Indaba will be doing. And by that, I mean, make sure that you follow us on all the social media platforms, on Facebook, on TikTok, on Instagram. It is Choral Music Indaba. Don't miss out on all the action.